That half the troubles of the world are due to people wanting to understand," said Lady Tanagra calmly. " I never want to understand. There are certain things I know, and these are sufficient for me. In this case I know that I have a very good brother, and he wants to marry a very good girl, but for some reason she won't have anything to do either with him or with me." She looked up into Patricia's face with a smile so wholly disarming that Patricia was forced to laugh. " If you knew Patricia's opinion of herself," she said to Lady Tanagra, " you would be almost shocked." " Well now, will you do something just to please me ?" insinuated Lady Tanagra. " You see, this big brother of mine has always been more or less my adopted child, and you have it in your power to hurt him more than I want to see him hurt." There was an unusually serious note in Lady Tanagra's voice. Why not let things go on as they are for the present, then later the engagement can be broken off if you wish it. I'll speak to Peter and see that he is not tiresome." " Oh, but he's never been that," protested Patricia, then she stopped suddenly in confusion. Lady Tanagra smiled to herself. " Well, if he's never been tiresome, I'm sure you wouldn't like to hurt him, would you ?" She was speaking as if to a child. " The only person I want to hurt is Aunt Adelaide," said Patricia with a laugh. Lady Tanagra noticed with pleasure that the mood seemed to be dropping from her. " Well, may I be the physician for to-day ?" continued Lady Tanagra. Patricia nodded her head. " Very well then, I prescribe a dinner this evening with one Tanagra Bowen, Peter Bowen and Godfrey Elton, on the principle of eat thou and drink, to-morrow thou shalt die." " Who is Godfrey Elton ?" asked Patricia with interest. " My dear Patricia, if I were to start endeavouring to describe Godfrey we should be at it for hours. You can't describe Godfrey, you can only absorb him. He is a sort of wise youth rapidly approaching childhood." " What on earth do you mean ?" cried Patricia, laughing. " You'll discover for yourself later. We're all dining at the Quadrant to night at 8. " Dining at the Quadrant ?" repeated Patricia in amazement. " Yes, and I have to get home to dress, and you have to dress, and I will pick you up in a taxi at 8:15. " But Peter, your brother said that he was coming." " Peter has greater faith in his sister than in himself. He therefore took me into his confidence, and I am his emissary." " Oh, you Bowens, you Bowens !" moaned Patricia in mock despair. " There is no avoiding us, I confess," said Lady Tanagra gaily. " Now I must tell you about your charming aunt. She called upon mother yesterday." " What ?" gasped Patricia. " She called at Grosvenor Square and announced to poor ununderstanding mother that she thought the families ought to know one another ; but she got rather badly shocked by Godfrey and one of the soldier boys whom we call Uncle, and left with the firm conviction that our circle is a pernicious one." " It's perfectly scandalous !" cried Patricia. " No, it's not as bad as that," said Lady Tanagra calmly. " What ?" began Patricia. " Oh, I mean Aunt Adelaide's conduct. It's humiliating, it's "" Wait until you hear," said Lady Tanagra with a smile. " When Peter ran in to see mother, she said that she had had a call from a Miss Brent and could he place her. So poor old Peter blurts out that he's going to marry Miss Brent. Poor mother nearly had a fit on the spot. She was too tactful to express her disapproval, but she showed it in her amazement. The result was that Peter was deeply hurt and left the room and the house. I am the only one who saw the exquisite humour of the joke. My poor darling mother had the impression that Peter has gone clean off his head and wanted to marry your most excellent Aunt Adelaide." And Lady Tanagra laughed gaily. For a moment Patricia gazed at her blankly, then as she visualised Aunt Adelaide and Bowen side by side at the altar, she laughed hysterically. " I kept mother in suspense for quite a long time. Then I told her, and I also rang up Peter and told him. And now I must fly," cried Lady Tanagra. " I'll be here at 8:15, and if you're not ready I shall be angry ; but if you have locked yourself in your room I shall batter down the door. We're going to have a very happy evening and you'll enjoy yourself immensely. I think it quite likely that Godfrey will fall in love with you as well as Peter, which will still further increase your embarrassments." Then with a sudden change of mood she said, " Please cheer up, Patricia. Happiness is not a thing to be taken lightly. You have been a little overwrought of late. And now, good bye." " One moment, please," said Patricia. " Don't you understand that nothing can possibly be built up on such a foundation as " "You're picking up Peter in the Grill room of the Quadrant," said Lady Tanagra calmly. Patricia gasped. " Oh !" she cried. " Let's call things by their right names," said Lady Tanagra. At the present moment you're putting up rather a big fight against your own inclination, and you are causing yourself a lot of unnecessary unhappiness. Is it worth it?" she asked. " One's self-respect is always worth any sacrifice," said Patricia. " Except when you are in love, and then you take pride in trampling it underfoot." With this oracular utterance Lady Tanagra departed with a bright nod, a smile and an insistence that Patricia should not come downstairs. Chapter 13